All right, guys, so we have the results from last night's elections, and it ain't good. It ain't pretty, to say the least. So this article's in The Intercept here. Progressives, quote, massively outgunned, ditched Nina Turner. Now this is, being that I was one of the co-founders of Justice Democrats, this article really cuts deep. Justice Democrats blamed pro-Israel super PAC, DMFI, and AIPAC for their decision to stay out of the rematch with Ohio Representative Shontel Brown. So not only was Nina Turner abandoned by the Congressional Progressive Caucus, abandoned by individual Justice Democrats, at the last minute, literally 12 hours before the primary, AOC endorsed Nina, didn't even send out a tweet about it. At least I didn't see one, but did it via a fundraising email, like a joint fundraising email. So she was basically left high and dry. We'll give AOC half credit for even endorsing her, but it was 12 hours before. Usually when there's an endorsement, what you want to do is, do it a little bit before so that you can do a rally with them and help them out in more practical ways. But this was like last minute, let me just hedge my bets type stuff. AOC was the only one who did it. Every other Justice Democrat abandoned her. Ilhan Omar, nowhere to be seen. Rashida Tlaib, nowhere to be seen. Ayanna Pressley, nowhere to be seen. The list goes on and on, right? They just all stayed out. Pramila Jayapal, of course, endorsed Shontel Brown. Now, they say, well, the reason we did that is because we have to do that because if somebody's in the Congressional Progressive Caucus, that's part of being in the caucus, is that you're just going to get the support by default. But here's the problem with that. Shontel Brown is both part of the Congressional Progressive Caucus and the New Democrat Coalition. The New Democrat Coalition is ideologically opposed to progressivism. Their whole point is we are not progressives. We are centrists. So if there's going to be no standards for the Congressional Progressive Caucus, then it's not a Congressional Progressive Caucus. So people actually care about policy. They care about ideology. They care about what you're going to fight for. And Shontel Brown is, she's a right-wing Democrat. She's trying to tank the renegotiation of the Iran deal right now, for example. So for them to back her tells me everything I need to know about the Congressional Progressive Caucus. They're not serious. They're careerists. They're ladder climbers. But even the group Justice Democrats, so like the main group itself, left Nina Turner high and dry. So the results are, I guess, to some extent, what you'd expect them to be. We'll go through this article here, and maybe they'll have some specific numbers. They say, Justice Democrats, the group that has launched several progressive members of Congress, said it is being massively outgunned by Republican donors, giving millions to attack progressive candidates in several competitive races. One of those was Tuesday's Democratic primary in Ohio's 11th district, where incumbent Representative Shontel Brown won with 66% of the vote. 66% is what Shontel got. The defeat of Nina Turner, the former co-chair of Senator Bernie Sanders' 2020 presidential campaign, deals a repetitive blow to progressives who backed her run. The second Turner waged against Brown in 9 months. Quote, Nina is a giant in the progressive movement, and we're proud to have gone all in for her campaign last year, Justice Democrats said in a statement. The reality is our organization has to be strategic about our priorities as we get massively outgunned by Republican donors funneling millions to super PACs like AIPAC and DMFI, Democratic Majority for Israel, against our existing candidates. So this drives me crazy, because this is obviously one of the most high-profile, if not the most high-profile races for progressives. So that's all the more reason to fight harder and to get more involved. And if there's Republican money and billionaire money and corporate money funneling in on the other side, that's more reason for you to double down and triple down and quadruple down and try to get Nina across the finish line. But they looked at the fact that there was a challenge and they were like, well, obviously we need to penny pinch and be strategic. No, that means you're weak. And that means you're losing the trust of the people who, cobbled together $5 or $10 to donate to you. This group is a shadow of itself from when I was there. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. Last August, Turner lost to Brown by 6 points in a special primary election. In the wake of that race, Turner told The Intercept that the result was heavily influenced by money from DMFI pouring in, especially after Israeli airstrikes in Gaza in May 2021. Quote, I even have emails right now to this day of local primarily business leaders in the Jewish community where they were encouraging Republicans to vote in this primary and were saying things like, we must support Shontel Brown. In no way can we let Nina Turner win this race. In the 2021 cycle, DMFI PAC spent just under $2 million on ads supporting Brown and attacking Turner. The AIPAC-aligned pro-Israel America PAC gave Brown's campaign more than $500,000. Last year, Justice Democrats helped raise more than $100,000 for Turner and supported a $500,000 independent expenditure backing her. This year, Brown's campaign was again propelled by outside pro-Israel groups that claimed Turner stokes division and painted her as an anti-Israel candidate. And Brown's re-election campaign was again backed by AIPAC and DMFI, which is funded by $2 million from an oil and gas heir, along with a super PAC funded by a cryptocurrency billionaire. Wow. I mean, it was just every nefarious force you could imagine lined up against her. And even Joe Biden hopped in to endorse Shontel Brown to try to, put the cherry on top. Spent more than $280,000 on the race last month, including more than $198,800 on ads attacking Turner. So this is something, I should point this out for everybody so they understand what was going on in this race. Nina Turner, and I'll show you some evidence of this in a second, she had a phenomenal ground game. They were knocking on doors. They were making relationships face-to-face with people. And in politics, that used to be something that is vitally important, crucially important, and to some extent it still is. But if you don't have the money, you don't have the donors, then you have no real national presence. If you're not, running a tremendous amount of ads, if you're not on TV, now politics in the modern era is certainly way more national than it used to be. And so it looks like doing a top-down campaign is actually more effective than doing a bottom-up campaign. And we even saw this with Trump in a way. Trump had a ground game that was a mess in 2016. But nationally, he was everywhere. And so the fact he was everywhere nationally really not only led to people who despised Trump a lot, but it led to a backlash to that and people who were massively pro-Trump. And I think a similar dynamic happened with Nina, where she didn't have any national presence. There wasn't much of a top-down game. It was all a bottom-up game, and that's the way politics used to work, especially at the congressional level. But now, with this being such a high-profile race and her being so underfunded and her, knocking on doors and doing it that way, it just wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough. DMFI PAC spent more than $1 million on the race last month, including more than $312,000 on ads against Turner. A spokesperson for Justice Democrats told The Intercept that the group didn't have the resources to get involved in every primary. Well, so here's the thing. If you guys are bold, and you guys take chances, and you guys fight for candidates who everybody loves and wants, maybe that funding number would go up. Maybe you'd have more people in the base trust you and then donate to you. But you lost the trust of the base, so fewer people are donating, and so now you have fewer funds, and then you make decisions like this, which makes people trust you even less. Particularly in light of major spending from Republicans and pro-Israel groups, quote, each candidate we recruit requires massive staff and financial resources, especially since many of our candidates have little to no name recognition or existing fundraising networks. If we had twice the budget, we could likely get involved in twice the number of primaries. Again, how do you get twice the budget? How do you get that? Take risks. Be bold. Fight for your high-profile candidates. I mean, they blow everybody's trust, and they're like, why aren't we raising more money? When we endorse a candidate, we're typically going all in for them with significant staff and financial investment, which isn't possible for us to do in every primary right now. Many progressives who backed Turner last year stayed out of the race this cycle, which picked up after many groups had already drawn up their electoral strategies and top priorities for the 2022 midterms. Another major diversion came from the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which endorsed Turner last year, spent $104,000 on an independent expenditure supporting her, and last month endorsed Brown. After her first election to Congress, Brown became a simultaneous member of the CPC and the centrist New Democrat Coalition, raising eyebrows. Yeah, I mean, she's a hack. She's a corporatist. She's a total empty suit. And unfortunately, what we saw in this race is that, the big money from the top down, it was able to defeat Nina. And look, she fought her heart out, but it wasn't enough. And she was left high and dry and she was abandoned. But I will say, even if she wasn't fully abandoned, even if everybody was all hands on deck, and, she got all the endorsements of all the progressives and all that stuff, then it's still possible that she would have came up short. It's still possible that would have happened. But it would have been much closer. It would have been, just like the last race, maybe 6 points, 5 points. It's just they have all the institutional power. And it's hard to go up against institutional power. But this shouldn't be something that dissuades you from further political action, because that's never the answer. You have to have a principled stance in favor of fighting for the right things, and Nina Turner herself has that, even in the wake of this loss, which I'm sure hurts her a lot. So here she is. She gave a speech, a concession speech, and she said some really interesting things. So let's watch this.
They said that we couldn't take on the $1 million super PAC money. That's what they said that we couldn't do. We know that they were wrong because this is just one step. We have faith and we have the fight. And so let me say this extemporaneously. All right. Sister Turner ain't going nowhere.
See, this is why I love Nina. I mean, she's great on all the policies and stuff, but she has that fighting spirit where she's like, oh, I lost? Okay, well, fuck you twice as hard then. I love that. I really, like, you know, on the one hand, of course, I feel the dejection when something goes wrong and, you know, I want to lick my wounds a little bit and I want to sulk. But, I mean, ultimately, that serves no purpose. It's just all about your feels, right? Like, I feel like I'm so hurt by this. It's like, okay, bitch, brush it off and move on. And Nina, like, on the night she loses, she's like, I'm not going anywhere. Fuck you guys. And now, you know, she's got a burning fire inside of her even more so than before because she knows how much she was screwed. She knows how much the system and big money and the top-down organization screwed her and how much she was abandoned by other so-called progressives. So she's fired up.
My resolve tonight is intact. And this is what I do know. That in the spirit of Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm, I'm unbought and I'm unbossed. And that's why that money came in here. Because they know in the halls of Congress that I was going to shake that sucker. On behalf of the poor, the working poor, and the barely middle class. But that's all right, Pastor Early. They can't contain this black girl magic. Because what I am going to do is I'm going to take this magic all over this country and shake it that way. And maybe 2024 is coming. And I think the great state of California got something to say about what Sister Turner should do.
She's talking about California in 2024. Huh.
The great state of Iowa got something to say about what Sister Turner should do.
Iowa? So she's bringing up early 2024 primary states.
The great state of Nevada got something to say about what Sister Turner should do. But we ain't going nowhere. They just reinforced my resolve. And that just like King James, LeBron James decided to take his skills to South Beach, but what Sister Turner's gonna do is to continue taking my skills all over this nation, and I'm gonna see some folks in 2024. Hello? Stay tuned.
All right, so let me say this. I think people might be reading too far into this because there's a lot. Some people are saying like she just announced she's running for president in 2024. I don't know if that's true. In fact, what I get from this speech is she's hinting at that, flirting with that, but you know, taking my talents all around this country in 2024 and bringing up those states could mean there's another Bernie Sanders run coming, and she's gonna, you know, campaign for Bernie. It could mean she's gonna back a Marianne Williamson candidacy because they're close, and Marianne Williamson is you know seriously thinking about running in 2024. So I think people are reading too far into this. It is possible that she's hinting at a 2024 run, but it's certainly not, you know, solidified. It's certainly not an announcement that she's running.
This is what y'all asked for. My mama used to say, sometimes you're going to get what you asked for. And that corporate money coming up in here this way to suppress and malign the voices of working class people in this district, in this nation, and in this world. Let me tell you something, they ain't seen nothing yet. They gonna get what they asked for. Sister Turner unleashed. That's what they gonna get. That's what they wanted, turn time. That's what they wanted. And that's what they gonna get. So I'll see you all in 2024. Oh, wait. Let me get my team up here. Team Turner, come on up here.
Okay. I mean, she's great. Like, she's great. She's so wonderful. She's like, she just lost, and she's like, fuck you. I'm going to fight even harder. That's what we need, man. That's that spirit that we need. Because you know what? That's the spirit that the right has. For sure, that's the spirit that the right has. They lose, and it's like, actually, no, we didn't even really lose. It's like, wait, what? No, we didn't even lose. Look at Trump. He lost, and he's like, totally rigged election. Not true. I always win. That's the end of it. And that's like, Nina's kind of doing that same shit. I mean, she's accepting the fact that she lost, but she's like, all right, now I'm going to fight back twice as hard. Fuck you. So, damn. So we'll see. I don't know if she actually is, planning on running in 2024, if Bernie's going to run again and she's going to back Bernie, if Marianne Williamson's going to run and she's going to back Marianne Williamson, if she has some other thing in mind, but certainly some hints there. Now, Jordan Sheridan, who's been doing a great job following this race, by the way, he says, breaking in an interview with Status Quo just now, Nina Turner said, squad members were threatened not to support her. She will consider running as an independent for 2024 for president. Now, by the way, I will just say, I love Nina to death. Everybody knows that. But if you run as an independent, you're going to get draxed. Because it's systemically rigged against running as an independent, even worse than it's rigged as running as a Democrat in the primary. That's just a fact. Ross Perot had roughly $1 gazillion and ran as an independent and got 0 electoral votes, even though he got like 19% of the vote. So it's so rigged against running as an independent that you first would need to unrig it to run as an independent in order to have any prayer at all. So that's something that I would say to Nina directly so she understands what she's getting into. By the same token, if you run as like a Green Party candidate, there's a ceiling, and the ceiling is very, very, very low. And as rigged as it is running as a Democrat in the primary, it's even more rigged running as a third-party candidate or an independent. So in a sense, an independent run would really be largely a waste of time. But the squad members threatened not to support her. See, this is the thing, and this is what drives me crazy. I know that they were going to be threatened. Everybody knows they were going to be threatened. If you follow politics closely, you understand that if you step out of line, they try to discipline you. So here's my guess. My guess is the Congressional Progressive Caucus, the Black Caucus, and various groups internally told squad members, like, look, if you endorse Nina Turner, then we're going to endorse against you in your next race. And you're not going to get any funding, any support, et cetera, et cetera. And it scares them. Because once you get a little taste of that power in Washington, D.C., you don't want to let go. And so they feel like, I'm going to become a pariah if I do this. And so they go into self-preservation mode. Here's the problem with that, though. It was AOC when she ran the first time, when she was like, listen, if I'm a one-term congressman, that's fine. As long as I'm fighting for change, then I could sleep at night. But if I start kowtowing to the establishment, well, then what the hell's the point? And so the whole point is to take the risks. The whole point is to take on the fight. The whole point is to be clear about why you're there and what you're doing and who you're fighting for. And for them to buckle under this pressure just shows they're not up to it. They're not up to it. They're playing the game. So who cares? Let them come after you. Where does a badge of honor? Shit, take the fight on. And then she would not say who she was referring to as Pinos, progressives in name only, during speech. Oh, I mean, I'm sure that's Shontel Brown. I'm sure that's the entire Democratic establishment. I'm sure that's even certain members of the Justice Democrats, because they all fucking back down. They all back down. So, Marianne Williams had said something beautiful about Nina Turner here. I really enjoyed this. She said, my friend Nina Turner did not win her election today. She ran a wonderful race, but it was not enough. Turner was crushed by the weight of a Democratic machine that took out all its guns to defeat her, including dark money, as well as abandonment by progressive congressional leadership, which theoretically should have stood by her. The game of chess that is played in Washington, D.C. is quite something to behold. Turner lost the vote in Cleveland, but she won the hearts of many thousands of people around the country. She is no less a populist leader today than she was yesterday, and while her voice will not be heard in Congress this year, it will certainly still be heard. This race embodied the battle for the soul of the Democratic Party, with Nina a primary proponent of returning to the New Deal principles that FDR espoused, not just in words, but in action. Roosevelt knew that people's struggle was against forces of selfishness and lust for power. Nina, like FDR, stands strong against those forces. That's exactly why the machine comes after her. I know how hard it is to run and to be beaten up the way Nina has been, but I also know the stuff she is made of. She will heal from this and she will rise. She felt called to make the race And I think she answered the call heroically. She is still my heroine, and we haven't heard the last of her. Nina might not be going to Congress right now, but she sure isn't fading away. Amen. Amen. That is true. I just want to show you. Again, it's limited how far you can go if you really just have a good ground game. You need money. You need national support. You need to be on TV. You need a little bit of top-down stuff going on too. But Nina's ground game was incredible. And Jordan Chariton got some amazing videos. So I just want to show you, this is what would happen when Nina Turner would walk around her district. Look at this.
Oh my God! Come over here.
I'm okay. I had to say hi till I see you.
This is one of my former students. Oh my God. It's been so long. Are you good?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm blessed. I'm hanging in there. I'm surviving. You helped me so much in my life. Thank you so much.
You gonna make me start crying because I remember you were going through a whole lot. And I thought about you all the time.
You always like a mother to me, honestly.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh my God. I'm so glad to see you. Oh my God.
I finished the police academy. I work private security. I live right there. So I'm hanging in there, man. I'm hanging in there.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I gotta tell you, you were one of those ones that I always prayed for and asked God to keep you.
Thank
you have so much potential. You are brilliant. And that's why life is so challenging, but you've come a mighty long way.
You too, man.
Okay, you take care of yourself. This is my dad.
Hey, you doing, brother? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He's one of my
Keep up the good work, man.
That's beautiful. Look at the connection she makes with people. And then we also have this. Watch this.
How you feeling 3 days before?
You know, Jordan, I'm feeling good. It's a lot of money that came, crashing down in here from oil baronesses and crypto billionaires, but my team has been running a field-first campaign. We've been out here knocking doors since the latter part of February, in the snow, the sleet, the rain, and we're feeling good. We're leaving it all on the field. That is what we're doing. We're going to have no regrets in here because we're touching the people, so they certainly have all the money. Hey, baby! Now, did y'all vote already? Okay. Can I do it? Yes! Oh, so much love. Hey, darling. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, not just door knocking, car knocking.
All right. I got to tell my cousin I saw you. Thank you so much. Oh, my God. So, anyway. Hey! Go, Nina! How you doing, baby? Thank you. Go, Nina. I need it. Yeah. God bless you. Come here, Senator. Okay. Come here. For the win. Give me the hat.
You think this was happening with Shontel Brown on the ground? There's literally no way. It's like, it's astroturfed, And again, they were able to steer the narrative and control it through big money and ads. This is what a grassroots campaign looks like. But, the lesson moving forward for everybody is you need grassroots and you need top-down. But the issue for Nina was like, where was the money? Where was the money for top-down? It wasn't there. Because she was abandoned in 14,000 different ways. She needed more support. And she didn't get it. So this is what a grassroots campaign looks like. People love her. But there was a smaller number of people who loved her vociferously. And there was a larger number of people who were casual Shontel Brown voters who were duped by a top-down narrative and big money.
Lord,
So you're not just door knocking.
I'm car knocking too. I'm doing it all. Hey, baby.
Look at this.
Check out the scene. I'm already done.
Oh, I love you so much.
Love you, girl.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Listen, I will say this about Nina. I've been on the beat recently calling for Marianne Williamson to run for president. And I think she's seriously considering it. And I think that maybe the wheels are in motion there a little bit. In the case of Nina, though, understand, again, the key element that was missing from this race was big money for her and really a top-down approach to the campaign. And that's why, honestly, a run for president, even though she lost twice, even though it's unlikely, even though she would be, put through the ringer in the media, honestly, there would be a similar sort of like Trump effect for a Nina Turner. Because the thing that happened with Trump is the cameras couldn't stay away from him at the national level. And so he would get these people who despise him and these people who love him. And the cameras just couldn't turn off of Trump. And so it was endless media, free media, over and over and over and over. And so it didn't matter that he had a shitty ground game. With Nina, you could imagine a similar thing where if the cameras are on her all the time, and she's always in headlines, and you always hear what she's saying because she's too charismatic and dynamic for the cameras to turn away from her, that's a different story, man. That's a different story. So in a weird way, it's almost like a higher office facilitates more of Nina Turner's qualities and characteristics and a potential victory, So, but again, I don't know. When she said the thing, I don't know if she's saying I'm going to run for president. It could have been I'm going to campaign for Bernie again, and Bernie's going to run again. I'm going to campaign for Marianne Williamson, and Marianne Williamson is going to run. It could be something like that. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But of course, I want Nina Turner to stay on the scene because she's something special. She has all the charisma in the world, and it really is true that it did take all the king's horses and all the king's men to defeat her. And last time she barely lost. This time she lost by more. They really tried to, like insult her and crush her so that she wouldn't ever try anything like this ever again. That was the whole point of Biden coming in and endorsing and all the big money coming in and even the Republican money coming in. Like, that was the point. They wanted to say, like, never this kind of politics. And, they got what they wished for this time. But look, at some point, it's going to happen. There's going to be a totally, a wing of the Democrats that is like the Trump wing of the Republican Party, where they genuinely don't give a fuck about the norms, don't give a fuck about playing that internal game. I mean, look, Kevin McCarthy cannot control Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz. He can't. He can't even control Madison Cawthorn. And, we look at that and we say, well, those people are fucking crazy, so that's annoying. But it's that same spirit of, like, you need to have people who Pelosi and Schumer just have zero control over, who are on their own, who understand, look, I'm a congressperson. I represent the people. I don't give a fuck about your little hierarchy that you have here. It's bullshit. It's fake. I got elected by the people. I'm going to represent the people. And so it's only a matter of time that you have, like, again, Trump on the Republican side in 2016 broke the Republican Party. The establishment didn't want him, but he ended up winning anyway. It's tick-tock until something like that happens with the Democrats. Now, who will be the leader? I don't know. That's yet to be seen. Will it be Marianne Williamson? Will it be Nina Turner? Will it be somebody else? I don't know. That's yet to be seen. But that day is coming. That day is coming where the old guard cannot keep the lid on it anymore. And so that's what I want to leave you guys on a note of positivity. But now let's do the final thing here. Give you the results for the Republicans. J.D. Vance's Trump-like effect. So J.D. Vance has defeated Josh Mandel and a bunch of other Republicans in the race. So let me tell you what Axios says. If J.D. Vance follows his Tuesday night victory in Ohio Senate primary with the general election win in November, he'll arrive in Washington filled with enemies and be seen as arguably the hardest-edged populist nationalist in the Senate GOP. So look, I'm going to already take issue with the framing. He postures as a populist. Will he actually govern as a populist? My guess is he'll be like all the other Republicans who pretend to be populist and they just end up acting like standard establishment Republicans. Now he's going to be up against Tim Ryan, who defeated, unfortunately, Morgan Harper, who is another great candidate, but Tim Ryan had all the big money, all the backing, all the name recognition, et cetera, et cetera. So it'll be Tim Ryan versus J.D. Vance. They say why it matters. The Republican establishment privately regards Vance with the same disgust many felt toward Donald Trump when he entered the White House on January 20th, 2017. Vance's victory deals a body blow to a small but noticeable resurgence of anti-Trump or post-Trump sentiment in the GOP. Republican Trump critics staked their hopes on Senator Matt Dolan, who accused Trump of peddling lies about fraud in the 2020 election and blamed him for the January 6, 2021 assault on the Capitol. But even with four solidly pro-Trump candidates in the race, Vance, Josh Mandel, Mike Gibbons, and former Ohio GOP Chair Jane Timken, Dolan was unable to marshal a plurality. So this dude, Dolan, who's the anti-Trump Republican, he actually had a late surge, but he still ended up finishing in third. And then you had Mandel, who was leading for a long time but ended up losing. He was endorsed by Ted Cruz, and he was the craziest of all these people. And then J.D. Vance is kind of postures as a Trump-like Republican. He acts like he's a populist. Again, I think that's largely just window dressing, but he was able to win because Trump came in and endorsed him, and that ended up getting him over the finish line. And also, J.D. Vance was pushed by Tucker Carlson. He was on TV all the time. Trump spokesman Taylor Buttigieg said Vance put in tremendous work and has immense political talent, which put him in the position to earn the support of President Trump, but added that it was Trump's endorsement that propelled Vance to victory. So there's reporting that it was Tucker Carlson and it was Donald Trump Jr. who got Trump to endorse Vance, even though Vance had previously said really disparaging things of Trump back in the day. Quote, "The power of President Trump's endorsement is undeniable. His dominance over the Republican power brokers in D.C. cannot be overstated, and the promise of this MAGA movement will not just define the midterms, but it will win for years to come." Vance's key strategists were Andy Sarabian, advising on national politics, and Jai Chabria, steering the Ohio operation. Amid a wave of retirements by more traditional Republican senators such as Rob Portman, Richard Shelby, and Roy Blunt, Vance could be one of a handful of Republicans reshaping the ideological makeup of McConnell's conference. See, again, what I would say is it's mostly posturing that separates these Republicans from the establishment Republicans. That and the fact that they peddle the big lie. So, but understand, that is still an Achilles heel for the Republicans, according to all the polls, because nobody wants them to talk about the big lie. Nobody wants to talk about the fake idea that the election was rigged. But they still talk about that from time to time. But outside of that, Trump Republicans just posture as being a little more populist, a little more isolationist on foreign policy, a little more, in favor of economic programs that are left of the traditional Republicans. But then they end up voting with all the traditional Republican economic ideas. Vance has made statements on the campaign trail that have repulsed establishment Republicans, including many members of Senate leadership. Major Republican donors, including the powerful Club for Growth, spent millions trying to defeat him. He won a crowded GOP primary running on a position that directly opposes most Senate Republicans, including Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, on one of the major issues of the day, the Russia-Ukraine war. McConnell has pushed President Biden to do more to help Ukraine win the war, more weapons, more money. Vance has said Ukraine is not America's problem. He said on Steve Bannon's podcast shortly before Russia invaded its neighbor, "I don't really care what happens to Ukraine one way or another." McConnell's stance has the enthusiastic support of virtually his entire GOP Senate conference. Vance's opponents saw an opportunity to use his indifference to Ukraine against him, but Vance didn't budge. The Vance campaign's political assessment of his comments about the Russia-Ukraine war was simple. A source close to the campaign told Axios, voters who supported a more interventionist approach wouldn't vote on the issue, while America Firsters would potentially vote on it. Quote, "It was a pivotal moment in solidifying the view of JD as a fighter by the base and some of the most important media voices on the right," the source said. None of those voices was more important than Fox's top-rated host Tucker Carlson, a major booster for Vance. So there you go. Let's see. They might have some of his old comments in here. Let's see about Trump. Vance, a Trump critic turned supporter, was written off as dead by many late last year. In December, months before Trump endorsed Vance, a source close to GOP Senate leadership told Axios that of all the Ohio Senate candidates, Vance caused the biggest headaches, but the good news was he wouldn't win. The senior GOP official said he took solace in the knowledge that the Club for Growth's anti-Vance campaign, millions of dollars of TV ads pounding Vance for his past negative comments about Trump, killed off any hope of him winning. See, that's the thing. So on the right, to tie this back into Nina, how was Vance able to overcome the big money that was pouring in against him? Well, the answer is very simple. He had the endorsement of Donald Trump, and he was on TV all the time. So the top-down ability made it so he could override the money to tax. Nina didn't have the top-down support. She didn't have the top-down support. She didn't have the endorsements of any big-time progressives. And there was no national TV presence, at least in this race, for Nina Turner. So this is what happens when you have, a somewhat competent outsider wing. You could actually end up winning. They say around the same time as that GOP official confidently declared Vance a no-hoper, Trump himself was privately offering a similar assessment. According to a witness to Trump's private conversation last fall at Mar-a-Lago, the former president would repeat versions of this statement. "I really like JD, but I just hear he's totally dead. I hear those Club for Growth ads are killing him, totally killing him. They did a number on him." The club's ads did hurt Vance. He dropped to single digits in the polls, but he slowly began recovering, and Trump noticed. He liked that Vance had withstood an onslaught and was coming back. Vance was overwhelmingly helped by three people: the former president's eldest son, Don Jr., Tucker Carlson, one of the biggest donors in GOP politics, Peter Thiel. All worked behind the scenes to put Vance in a position to get Trump's endorsement. Don Jr. ultimately held 4 rallies, 2 fundraisers, relentlessly attacked Mandel on social media, called into Ohio radio shows, and even made fundraising calls on Vance's behalf to high-dollar donors. According to a source familiar with Don Jr.'s activities, Trump was aesthetically pleased by Vance. He thought he was tough and smart. He also thought Vance's major rival for the endorsement, Josh Mandel, was weird. True, that is so true. But so is J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance has the charisma of like a dirty diaper. No amount of sucking up from Mandel worked on Trump. He privately mocked Mandel for verging on picking a physical fight with an elderly man. Mike Gibbons on stage in the Ohio primary debate. Trump would hear his own harsh assessment of Mandel reflected back to him by Vance boosters like Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz. After Trump endorsed Vance, he rallied for him, recorded robocalls, and allowed his PAC to spend on Vance's behalf. He campaigned harder for Vance than for many Trump-endorsed candidates. There you go. There you go. So, bunch of progressive losses. It's been a tough week. Roe versus Wade, the second Amazon labor union vote failing, Nina Turner not winning, and now, well, J.D. Vance beating the Republicans. We have no stake in that shit. So, anyway, there's your election update and what went down, and we'll see what happens moving forward.